Dr. Andrea Schnowski and
Tori
from Health and Horsepower. And today we are really excited because we have a gluten-free caramel apple rose tart that we are going to be sharing a recipe for with you. So for this, basically you're going to be making a gluten-free flour crust and rolling it up with some apples inside as well as some apricot preserves. And then when we're going to put it in muffin tins, we're going to pour some caramel on top that is also gluten-free and homemade. So we are going to start with making our dough because our dough has to chill in the fridge for 1 hour. So first thing we're going to do is we need 1 1/4, which is this one, so this is 1/4, of gluten-free flour mix. So we have one of the cup for cup flour mixes, but any of those gluten-free flour mixes would be fine. So we're going to need 5. 1, make sure it's on there all the way. Okay. 2, 3, oh, we need way more than that. Here's 4, and then 1 more for 5. Now, the trick with gluten-free flour mix is you have to make sure you have some type of leavening agent to kind of get it to bind together because gluten-free flour doesn't have gluten to bind everything together. So, now that we've got our gluten-free flour mix, we are going to need to use, you can either use a 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum. I always keep arrowroot powder in the house, so we're going to use 1/2 teaspoon. And actually, that's 1 tablespoon. I'm sorry, 1/2 tablespoon. Where is my tablespoon? There it is. Okay. We need 1/2 tablespoon of arrowroot powder. This stuff is crazy messy, so just be careful. It kind of reminds me of powdered sugar with the way it likes to make a mess. Literally. Okay. So we're going to need 1/2 tablespoon. Oh, hold on. Yep, that's good. Of arrowroot powder or 1/2 teaspoon of xanthan gum, whatever you have in your gluten-free kitchen. And then after that, we are going to need to add 1 tablespoon of sugar. So I'm going to grab our tablespoon and grab some sugar. You want to pour that in, Miss Tori? Got it?
I like sugar. I like it.
Now we're not going to, well, we'll eat it later, okay? And then our next recipe ingredient is 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So this is our 1/4 teaspoon. We need 2 of those of the salt. So how about you hold that over? Wait. We're going to need 2. So let me go ahead and fill that up. Wait. Okay, 1 and 2.
Water fountain of salt.
Now, the next trick is we want to mix this up really good before we add any of our other ingredients. So we are going to be using some really cold butter. I honestly hate working with cold butter. I like to melt mine rather than putting it in. So we're going to try it cold, but if it doesn't work, we might have to heat it up a bit. So we're going to tune in just a few minutes. I'm just going to mix this up really good first. All right, we're back. So we took our gluten-free, hold on, Tori, hold on, please. We took our gluten-free flour mix, and I did end up melting the butter because I'm lazy, and I mixed it together until it's crumbly. Now, the next step, we actually have to whip an egg together with some lemon juice. So, Tori's going to go ahead and crack our egg. Now, if you saw our video previously about our secret at the grocery store right now with the price of eggs, our secret trick is to save money by buying brown eggs because right now, commercial white eggs are a lot more expensive than the brown ones. So if you get brown eggs, you save some money. And a lot of times, I know we looked at Schnucks a couple weeks ago, and it was like 33% cheaper. Like it was $3.50 for a dozen of eggs. And then I looked and it was like $5, like 6 foot over where the commercial eggs were. So definitely look at prices for brown eggs. They do tend to be a bit cheaper. They are the same exact thing inside. The only difference is, depending on the breed of chicken, that is what you get the color from on your egg. So we're going to take our egg, and we are going to need to mix 2 teaspoons of lemon juice.
I'm gonna do it.
You can use 1/2 lemon, but we have lemon juice always. So we're going to do 2 teaspoons. So you hold the teaspoon. 1. Okay, that was close enough. All right. And then we're going to take, and we need to whisk this together until it is foamy. I'm going to do it. I got this new whisk when we went to What was the name of that place we went to? We went to the Quad Cities. Oh, the Machine Shed. Alright, we got some foam starting here. Watch your hair so it doesn't get inside of here. Okay, so we got a little foamy. So we want to make sure there's some foam in here so it's kind of whipped up a little bit before we add it into the gluten-free mixture. So I'm going to pour this in here, and then I'm going to use my mixer because I think it's a little easier. Okay, so we're going to mix this together with the mixer. And then you can add up to 3 tablespoons of cold water if you need to. But our goal is now we want to take this, we want to form it into a ball and let it chill for about an hour. You can do it overnight as well. So we're going to make this into a ball. Because remember, gluten-free flour does not like to stick. So we're going to try to do as much as we can. Yeah, I'm going to definitely need some water in here. I need this, please. Thank you. We're going to add 1 and 2, and then we'll see if we need a third one. Alright, so we're going to mix this together. We just need it to form a ball. That's all we need. But gluten-free flour doesn't always like to do that, so just make sure that when you're doing this at home, get it into a nice ball so it chills all together. And then we're going to move on to our next step, which is making the caramel sauce and the apples. Now, you can microwave the apples to soften them. We're probably going to throw them on the stove just because I'm not a big fan of using the microwave if I can get away from it. Okay, so we've got that. I'm just going to press it together a little bit better here. We've got it decently into a ball, so it's kind of all sitting together. And we're going to go ahead and throw it in the fridge for about an hour to let it settle a bit more. Okay, we are back. We're going to be putting our caramel sauce together on the stove. Now, this recipe is from Pioneer Woman. It's really, really easy. We need 1 cup of brown sugar. I'm going to shape it because brown sugar is kind of hard to get into a scoop here. So let me shape it, and then you can put it in there. So there's 1. 1/4 cup. Perfect. We need a full cup of brown sugar. There's 2.
It's like making sandcastles.
Yeah, brown sugar is kind of like sandcastles. And if you don't have brown sugar, there's a trick. You can put sugar and molasses together to make brown sugar. All right, 3, and then 1 more, and then we're done with the brown sugar portion. There you go. Okay, number 4. Okay. So now the next step is we need basically half a stick of butter, which is 4 tablespoons. So we're going to put those in. I'm going to unwrap them and you can put it in. So there's 2. Is there something wrong with the butter? You don't want to touch it?
I don't want to get my hands dirty.
Oh, really? I never thought I'd hear you say that ever. Okay, and then we need half a cup of half and half. So we have, don't do that because it could spill out and then we'll be in trouble, okay?
Can I do it?
Maybe, if you could open it. I'm going to try to open it. There we go. Okay, got it. We almost had to call in the big muscles, huh? Okay, so we're going to need half a cup of half and half. Okay. Vanilla disappeared. There it is. Get it in there? Okay. And then we need 1. Hold on. I will do it. Okay. 1 tablespoon of vanilla. Okay. Okay. And then we need a pinch of salt. So, how about you put your hand right there for me? Pinch. Perfect. Okay. So now we're going to take this and basically we're going to throw it on the stove and we are going to cook it until it's thickened. So we'll be back for that.
Bye.
All right, so we've got our Pioneer Woman caramel sauce here. Basically, we just melted this on the stove till it thickens. So once you see it bubbling, it's about done. So we're going to turn that burner off. And then you only need half a cup for this recipe, which there's definitely more than that in here. So we're going to let this cool off before we do anything while we make the rest of our recipe. And we'll save the rest to go on maybe some ice cream later or something like that. So we've got this nice thick caramel sauce here. You could definitely, if you really wanted it super thick, you could definitely heat it up more. But you want it to be just slightly thicker so that you can drizzle it on top of your tartlets when they're ready to go in the oven. Right, so for this next portion of our recipe, we are going to be cutting up our apples. Now, we want to make sure that we core them, but we want nice thin slices. You can use a mandolin slicer if you have one. We've got 2 Gala apples here. We're probably going to try this recipe again with some Granny Smith, but Gala are probably the easiest to use. You want a red apple so that you have the red coloring for the flower petals on your rose. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to chop this in half, and then we're going to try to get the core out. So don't cut yourself. We always have to go over that because I always tend to cut myself, don't I? Yeah. Okay, get that out of my face, please. Thank you. All right, so we're going to go ahead, get the core out of here without destroying the apple. Okay, so there's a half, and let me get this other side moving. Okay. So if you make a nice little triangle like that, you should be able to get that core out. So we're going to do that for both of our apples, and then we're going to need to soften these. So you can throw them in the microwave for about a minute with some water and lemon juice to soften them. We're going to put them on the stove so that we can kind of check on them and make sure that they are nice and soft. Okay, so we got our apples ready there. I'm going to go ahead, we've got to slice these super, super thin. Alright, so Tori, here's a job for you. Let's switch this over. Here is a pan. I'm going to slice apples thin, and I'll need you to put them in the pan. But keep your hands away from my knife, okay? So hold on, let me slice them, and then I'll have you put them in the pan. Actually, this worked out pretty good with that nice little V. I can get a pretty good handle on this. Keep your hands away. I'll tell you when I'm done with this, okay? Alright, now that we got that down a bit.
It's so good, I want to eat it already.
Okay, so there's all those you can go ahead and put inside of the pan.
I want to eat all of them.
And then I'm going to work on the other apple here. Yeah, don't eat those ones. We'll need those. You've got a Granny Smith apple to tide you over right now. Every time I get apples out, everybody wants a million apples, and they eat like crazy. And we like to dip our apples in caramel. So we just made a caramel sauce, so we can definitely try that out with some of those apples later and see what we think. I always think Granny Smith tastes better with the caramel because they're a little bit more sour.
It's really thin.
Do you remember we tried those new apples from the apple orchard? The Liberty
Now I
ones?
can really see you.
Yeah, they're really thin. I told you they have to be thin. Okay, let me get this one.
I can't see you in this one.
That one's on a twist, so gotta be careful. I don't slice my fingers off because we don't want blood inside of our apples.
This is really thin. I can
Okay, go ahead and put that in the pan.
Anything in there.
So we've got all those in there. Then we're gonna add some water and a little bit of lemon juice so they don't brown. And we're gonna soften them on the stove.
Are you using this apple?
Yep, all of them. So don't touch that, okay? I need that apple because I only had 2 Gala apples left. You guys got into them before I realized we needed 2 for our recipe, and we only have 2.
And this is on the top back. Can you eat it?
Okay. All right, go ahead and put that in the pan.
I like
And then we
apples.
have one more apple to chop up, and
I
then
like
we'll
red.
soften it.
I like red apples.
Well, next time I go to the store, I can get you some red apples. I had Honeycrisp when I was there the other day, which those are really good, but they're full of sugar. I typically like the early apples better. I think we tried the Liberty, and we had a bunch of Jonathan. I don't remember, Cameron picked some other ones too when we went to Crust Orchard earlier. Okay, there we go. So that's all of our apples. I'm going to get rid of our knife here. And then what we're going to do is we are going to add some water. So let me get some water. That all in there? Okay, we're going to cover them. Spread them out really good. And then we're going to add just a little bit of lemon juice. Just so they don't brown. Okay. So half of a lemon, according to, I call her what's her face, but one of our smart devices in our house, she said there is about 1.5 tablespoons of lemon inside of half a lemon. So we're going to go ahead and put these on the stove until they are soft and stir them up, and we'll come back after. Okay, so we've got our apples softened. Now I did a trick. Rather than adding cinnamon in the middle of our roll, I put a little bit of cinnamon in the water. So now we're going to have cinnamon apples that are softened to put in the middle. I think it'll be a little bit easier this way, rather than trying to not get too much cinnamon in one spot. And then our caramel sauce, I did thicken up a little bit more. And I realized, as I was putting it back on the stove, that when it comes to the caramel sauce, you can use half and half or heavy whipping cream, which is what I had on hand. So I put heavy whipping cream in there. It'll be a little bit thicker, but you could also use half and half as well. So we're going to go ahead. We've still got a little bit of time left before our gluten-free flour dough is cooling. So we'll let everything else cool off, and then once that's ready, we're going to roll everything up together and throw it in the oven for the finishing touches on our recipe. So we'll come back with that. All right, we're back. So our gluten-free flour stayed in the fridge for about an hour or so. When I took it out, it was really crumbly. There was still a little bit left of water that I could add to it. Once it cooled down, I felt like as soon as I tried rolling out, it was just crumbling in pieces. So I added quite a bit more water. So now I've got a good ball here, and it's kind of holding together. We put a bunch of the gluten-free flour down. We're going to scooch this out of the way. We're going to try to see if we can get this to hold together, because that's going to be the hardest part with gluten-free flour, is it wants to crumble rather than hold together. So I know previously what I've done is when I had to use gluten-free flour, I would kind of pack it together. So it just kind of depends on how we're going to do this. But like I said, we are going to want to make this into strips. So we want this to hold together as best as we can. So I'm going to add some more flour on top so it doesn't stick to the pan, because we want to be able to make this into about 1/8 of an inch thick. Okay, we're getting somewhere now. Can you get your hair out so we don't get hair in it, please? Thank you. So we're going to kind of pat this. Tori, you want to pat that for me? We want to pat it.
You can.
Okay. So that's about...
I'm not getting my hands dirty.
That's about 1/8 of an inch thick. So, perfect. Now we're going to take a pizza cutter here, and we are going to try to roll this into strips. I'm going to take that right there.
I'll be careful.
I'm going to do this because this has got an edge on it. I don't want you to get cut on accident. Okay, so we've got our dough, and what we're going to do is we're going to put apricot on it. So you want to grab the apricot preserves for me, and there should be a butter knife over there too. Perfect. So we're going to open this. Careful. We don't need this. Let's get that out of the way. Okay. So we're going to take our apricot preserves, and we're going to spread those on there.
I do it.
Okay, then you do it. Here. Spread it on there. You can thin this with some water. We're going to do one strip at a time. So we'll need to get more. Oh, okay. Yep. This is what the problem is a lot of times with gluten-free flour, since it doesn't hold together. So you need to be very gentle and precise. So we need to be careful we don't put too much pressure on it. And then I'm going to need your help. We took our apple slices that we put on the stove and softened, and we put them in the fridge so they'd be nice and cool. So it would be a little easier for us to put these on. Because what we're going to do is, after we have all this apricot preserves, which you can put some cinnamon on here. We cooked our apples with the cinnamon, so that it was already in there ready to go. And then we're going to spread our apples on here with the edge kind of sticking up a bit so that they stand up like rose petals. So we're going to start with this one, which that one's kind of messed up. We'll see how we do this. Here, scooch that over so you have space. Okay. So we're going to take our apple slices and we're going to put them like this. See how it's at the edge? we can overlap them a little bit. So why don't you put another piece right there next to it? Yeah. So we're gonna let's put 3 pieces on there. So another one here. And then we're gonna try to roll this. Hopefully this works out okay.
Because they're sticky.
Yeah.
Sticky wee.
All right, so this is the hard part. So it's not, that one's kind of crumbly. That one might work. Might not work very well. Okay. I'm gonna try overlapping them.
Got a fresh new one.
Yep, and then we'll need one more here. So overlap them this way. We'll need a little bit on the edge. Okay, hold on. So we're gonna roll that up. Yeah, this is just destroyed. So we've got our gluten-free apple tartlets out of the oven, and unfortunately we had a lot of trouble getting that dough to roll, so we ended up just making little cutouts and then we folded apples on top. So we are going to put some of our caramel sauce on them. So I'm going to take and just kind of drizzle this on top. I'm using a spoon because it's a little easier here, because it is kind of thick, but it's got a little bit of runniness to it, so we can just drizzle that on. And then these will be ready to enjoy. So, if you make these at home, obviously gluten-free flour sometimes is kind of finicky. I don't know if it's just because I use arrowroot powder rather than xanthan gum, which I know xanthan gum tends to hold together a little better. But sometimes you just have to improvise a little bit. So that's what I did by just making cutouts and kind of packing it in the bottom. Then I put the apricot preserves on top. And then I folded the apple slices, and now you can also put the caramel sauce on so it kind of crisps it up before you put it in the oven. I personally like the sauce kind of afterwards, so I'm kind of drizzling this on top. These are going to be super tasty for our dessert tonight. Thanks for tuning in.